A photograph sits in the archive. It is from 1910. It shows a family by a lake. The water is calm. The sky is clear. The people wear clothes from that time. The image looks ordinary. It looks like so many others from that era. But this photograph is different. This photograph is famous. It is famous because of the faces. It is famous because of the eyes. The eyes in this picture tell a story. The eyes in this picture still chill people today. This is the family from a small town. They lived over a century ago. The photograph was taken by the lake near their home. When people first see this image, they think it is normal. They see a family portrait. They see old clothing. They see a vintage scene, but then they look closer. They look at the faces. They look at the eyes. And something feels wrong. The gaze in this photograph is not happiness. It is not boredom. It is not the blank stare that comes from sitting still for a long exposure. This gaze is something else. This gaze makes people uncomfortable. What were these people looking at? Why does their portrait feel so wrong? What secret did the photographer capture that day? What truth is frozen in this image that still haunts everyone who sees it today? The photograph was discovered in the Town Historical Society archives. Andrea was the archivist who first found it. She was cataloging old glass plate negatives. Most of them were routine. Most of them were forgotten moments from the past. But when Andrea held this particular negative up to the light, she felt something. She felt a chill. The image was clear. The composition was good. But there was something in the faces that made her pause. There was something in their expressions that felt deeply unsettling. Andrea cataloged the photograph, but she could not forget it. She could not forget the way those people stared out from the past. She showed it to her colleagues. They felt the same unease. There was something wrong with this image. There was something that did not belong in a simple family portrait. Andrea began to wonder about the story behind the photograph. She began to wonder who these people were. She began to wonder what had happened to them. Mila is an expert in early 20th century photography. She has studied thousands of images from this period. She understands the technical aspects of vintage photography. She explains that in 1910, cameras required long exposure times. People had to sit very still. They could not move, they could not smile. Movement created blur. So people in old photographs often look stern. They often look serious. They often look uncomfortable. This was normal. This was expected. But Mila says this photograph is different. The tension in this image is not from stillness. The tension is from something else. Mila points to specific details. She points to the man in the photograph. His name was Beckham. He was the patriarch of the family. His posture is rigid. His shoulders are pulled back. His jaw is tight. This is not the posture of someone trying to stay still for a camera. This is the posture of someone who is tense. This is the posture of someone who is afraid. Mila also points to one of the daughters. Her name was Kylie. The girl's eyes are wide. Her hands are clenched at her sides. She is not blinking for the camera. She is staring at something beyond the lens. The fear in her face is real. It is documented. It is frozen in time. Mila has examined hundreds of portraits from this era. She has seen stern faces. She has seen tired faces. She has seen bored faces. But she has rarely seen faces like these. These faces show genuine terror. The other family members show similar expressions. There is a woman standing next to Beckham. Her name was Sarah. She is holding a young child. Her grip on the child is tight. Too tight. Her knuckles are white. Her face is pale even in the old photograph. There is another daughter. Her name was Reese. She stands slightly behind her father. Her eyes are cast downward, but her body is stiff. Her fear is evident even though she is not looking at the camera directly. Leah is a historian. She knows the history of the town and the region. She has spent years studying what life was like in 1910. Leah explains that the town was not a peaceful place. It was not a simple, rural idyll. Life was harsh. The land was difficult. Resources were limited. There were disputes over property. There were conflicts over boundaries. Isolation made these conflicts worse. There was little law enforcement. There was little protection. People had to defend their claims themselves. Leah has found records from that time. She has read the journal of the local sheriff. His name was Rhett. Rhett wrote about growing tensions in the area. He wrote about landowners who used force. He wrote about families who disappeared. He wrote about problems he could not solve. The journal paints a picture of a place where violence was common. It paints a picture of a place where the law was weak. This was the world the family lived in. This was the world captured in the photograph. Rhett wrote in his journal about feeling powerless. He wrote about threats he received. He wrote about being told to look the other way. He wrote about families who came to him for help and left with nothing. The journal entries from the summer of 1910 are particularly dark. Rhett wrote about increasing violence. He wrote about land being seized. He wrote about people vanishing without explanation. He wrote about his own fear of powerful men in the region. Who was this family? Zara is the lead researcher on this case. She has investigated their story. She has traced their records. She has found what remains of their history. The family were new settlers. They had recently arrived in the area. They had acquired land by the lake. The land was good. It had water access. It had timber. It had value. But the land was also in dispute. There was a powerful landowner in the region. His name was Jackson. Jackson claimed the land was his. He claimed the family had no right to it. He claimed he would take it back. Sarah has found documents that show the conflict. She has found letters. She has found legal claims. She has found records of threats. Jackson was known for intimidation. He was known for using force to get what he wanted. The family was in his way. The family was on land he believed was his. And the family was vulnerable. They were new. They had no allies. They had no protection. Sarah discovered that Beckham had purchased the land legally. He had papers. He had a deed. He had proof of ownership. But in this region, legal documents meant little. Power meant everything. Jackson had power. Jackson had money. Jackson had men who worked for him, men who were willing to do whatever he asked, men who enforced his will. The photograph was taken during this conflict. The photograph was taken when the tension was highest. Sarah believes it was taken in late August of 1910. This was when the dispute reached its peak. This was when Jackson made his final move. This was when everything changed for the family by the lake. Andrea, the archivist, made another discovery. She was examining the photograph more closely. She was looking at every detail in the image. She used magnification equipment. She studied the glass plate negative under different lighting conditions. And she found something that most people miss. In the far background of the photograph, by the tree line, there is a shape. It is barely visible. It is out of focus, but it is there. The shape is not natural. It is not a tree. It is not a shadow. It looks like a person. It looks like someone standing. It looks like someone watching. Andrea showed this discovery to Mila. Mila confirmed it. The shape has the form of a human figure. It appears to be a man. He is partially obscured by trees. But he is definitely there. He is watching the family. He is watching the photographer. He is part of the scene even though he is trying to remain hidden. This discovery changes everything. Sarah, the lead researcher, explains what this means. The family is not looking at the camera. The family is not posing for a portrait. The family is looking at something near the camera. They are looking at the photographer. They are looking at the person in the background. They are looking at whoever has come to their land. Their gaze is not for the picture. Their gaze is for the men who are threatening them. The photograph captures a moment of confrontation. It captures a moment of fear. It captures a moment when everything is about to change. Beckham is not standing proudly on his property. He is standing defensively. Sarah is not holding her child for a family portrait. She is protecting her child from danger. Kylie is not posing. She is frozen in terror. Reese is not being shy. She is trying to make herself invisible. The investigation now focuses on Jackson. Leah, the historian, has found more information about him. Jackson was wealthy. He was powerful. He owned multiple properties in the region. He had a reputation. People feared him. Leah has found accounts of other families who lost their land to Jackson. She has found stories of intimidation. She has found stories of violence. Jackson did not use the courts. He did not use legal means. He used force. He used threats. And he got what he wanted. One account comes from a family who lived near the lake before Beckham arrived. They had refused to sell their land to Jackson. Within weeks, their barn burned down. Their livestock disappeared. Armed men appeared on their property at night. Eventually, they left. They abandoned their land and fled the region. Jackson took possession of the property immediately. This pattern repeated multiple times. Jackson wanted land. Families refused. Families suffered. Families left. Jackson won. Sarah has also found records about the sheriff, Rhett. Rhett was supposed to enforce the law. He was supposed to protect people. But the records show that Rhett was reluctant to investigate claims against Jackson. There are notes in his journal that suggest he was afraid. There are notes that suggest he was complicit. When families complained about Jackson, Rhett did nothing. When families asked for help, Rhett turned them away. In one journal entry, Rhett writes about a confrontation with Jackson. Jackson had come to his office. Jackson had made it clear that Rhett should not interfere with his business. The entry suggests that Jackson had information about Rhett, information that could ruin him. Rhett wrote that he felt trapped. He wrote that he could not help the people who needed him. He wrote that he was ashamed. But he did nothing. The law was supposed to protect the family by the lake, but the law did not help them. Beckham had gone to Rhett. He had shown Rhett his deed. He had asked for protection. Rhett had told him there was nothing he could do. Rhett had advised Beckham to negotiate with Jackson. Rhett had suggested that Beckham sell the land and move somewhere else. Beckham had refused. Beckham had said the land was his. He had paid for it. He would not be driven away. A theory emerges. Mila, the photography expert, explains how photographs were used during this time. Photographs were not just for memories. Photographs were tools. They were evidence. They were documentation. Wealthy people used photographers to document their properties. They used photographers to create records of their holdings. But photographs were also used for darker purposes. Mila believes this photograph was not a family portrait. She believes it was something else. She believes the photographer was hired by Jackson. The photographer came to the family's land. He came with Jackson's men. He came to document that the family was there. He came to document the confrontation. The person in the background is likely one of Jackson's enforcers. His name was probably Jace or Braxton or Chase. These were men known to work for Jackson, men with reputations for violence. The photographer is working for Jackson. The family knows this. The family knows why they are there. The family knows what is about to happen. Their chilling gaze is their reaction. Their fear is captured in the glass plate. This is not a portrait. This is a threat. This is a record of intimidation. This is a document of a crime that is about to occur. Mila explains that photographers in this era sometimes worked for powerful people who wanted documentation of their actions. Documentation that could be used later as proof or as leverage. The photographer may have told the family to stand together. He may have told them to look at the camera. But they could not. They could not look away from the men who had come to take their home. They could not pretend this was a normal portrait. Their fear was too great. And so the photographer captured something he may not have intended. He captured their terror. He captured the truth of what was happening. Andrea presents the final piece of evidence. She has found the acquisition ledger for the town. The ledger records all property transfers. The ledger shows dates. The ledger shows names. Andrea has traced the timeline carefully. The photograph is estimated to have been taken in late August of 1910. The exact date is not known, but the ledger provides a crucial detail. Just 3 days after the estimated date of the photograph, the land by the lake was officially transferred. The land went from Beckham to Jackson. The transfer was recorded. It was made legal. But there is no record of payment. There is no record of a sale. There is no record of Beckham signing any document. The land simply changed hands. The entry in the ledger is brief. It lists the property. It lists the previous owner as Beckham. It lists the new owner as Jackson. There is a signature at the bottom. But it is not Beckham's signature. It is the signature of a clerk who worked for Jackson. Leah has searched for what happened to the family after this date. She has looked through census records. She has looked through birth and death certificates. She has looked through immigration records. She has looked through every document available. The family disappears. After the land transfer, there is no trace of them. They do not appear in the next census. There are no records of them moving to another town. There are no graves in the local cemetery. There are no letters. There are no mentions in newspapers. It is as if they vanished. Sarah has also searched. She has contacted historical societies in neighboring towns. She has searched through records in the state archives. She has looked for any mention of Beckham or Sarah or their children. She has found nothing. The family existed. The photograph proves they existed. But after August 1910, they are gone. The silence in the records is deafening. It suggests something terrible happened. It suggests they did not leave voluntarily. It suggests they could not leave. There is one more detail. Andrea found it in a newspaper from a town 50 miles away. The newspaper is from September 1910. There is a small article. The article mentions a fire by a lake. The article says a house burned down. The article says no bodies were found. The article does not mention names, but the location matches. The timing matches. Andrea believes this was the family's home. She believes the fire was not an accident. The resolution becomes clear. The photograph captured the family's last stand. It captured the moment when they realized what was going to happen. It captured the moment when they faced the men who would take everything from them. Their gaze is the gaze of people who have lost. Their gaze is the gaze of people who know their fate. Their gaze is the gaze of people staring their antagonists in the face. They cannot fight. They cannot run. They can only stand there. They can only be recorded. They can only become part of history. Why does this photograph still resonate? Why does it chill people over a century later? Sarah explains that it is because their fear is authentic. It is not posed. It is not performed. It is real. The photograph breaks the barrier of time. When people look at this image, they are not seeing historical figures. They are not seeing distant ancestors. They are seeing real people in a moment of terror. Beckham is not abstract. Sarah is not anonymous. Kylie and Reese are not just names. They are individuals facing a terrible moment. And that moment was documented. It was preserved. It was frozen forever. The photograph is honest in a way that most portraits are not. Most old photographs show people as they wanted to be seen. They show people in their best clothes. They show people trying to look dignified. They show people performing for the camera. But this photograph is different. This photograph shows people who are not performing. This photograph shows people who are trapped. The photographer captured something he may not have intended. He captured their humanity. He captured their fear. He captured their truth. The image's power comes from this accidental honesty. Modern viewers feel the chill because they recognize the fear. They recognize the helplessness. They recognize what it looks like when someone is cornered. The clothing is old. The technology is old. The world is different. But the emotion is universal. Fear looks the same in 1910 as it does today. Desperation looks the same. The photograph works because it captures something timeless. It captures something that cannot be faked. It captures a real moment of real suffering. Mila points out another aspect of the photograph. The composition is actually quite good. The lighting is even. The focus is sharp. The framing is professional. This was not an amateur taking a snapshot. This was a skilled photographer doing his job. But his job that day was not to create beauty. His job was to create a record that served Jackson, a record that documented his power, a record that showed what happened to people who stood in his way. The photograph remains in the Town Historical Society today. Andrea still maintains the archive. The glass plate negative is kept in controlled conditions. It is preserved. It is protected. The image has been digitized. It has been studied. It has been analyzed. Researchers continue to investigate the story. They continue to search for more information about the family. They continue to search for evidence of what happened after the photograph was taken. But much remains unknown. Much remains lost to time. The photograph serves as a testament. It is a testament to a dark chapter in the region's history. It is a testament to a time when law was weak and power was absolute. It is a testament to the families who were pushed out. It is a testament to the people who disappeared. Leah says that this photograph is important because it makes history personal. It makes history real. It reminds people that history is not just dates and events. History is made of individual lives. History is made of individual moments. And sometimes those moments are captured. Sometimes those moments are preserved. Sometimes those moments can still reach across time and touch people today. The photograph is also a memorial. It is a memorial to Beckham and Sarah and their children. It is the only evidence that they existed. It is the only record of their presence. Without this photograph, they would be completely forgotten. They would be erased. They would be nothing. But because of this image, they are remembered. They are seen. They are witnessed. Their moment of fear becomes their moment of immortality. They are frozen in time. They are preserved. They will be looked at for generations to come. Andrea often thinks about the family when she works in the archive. She thinks about Kylie's wide eyes. She thinks about Sarah's protective grip on her child. She thinks about Beckham's rigid posture. She thinks about Reese trying to hide. She thinks about what they felt in that moment. She thinks about what they knew was coming. She thinks about how powerless they must have felt. And she feels grateful that their story can be told. She feels grateful that they are not completely forgotten. Other photographs from this era exist. Other glass plates sit in archives. Other families stare out from the past. But this photograph is special. This photograph has a story. This photograph has a truth that was captured by accident. The photographer came to document a confrontation. He came to serve a powerful man. He came to create a record of intimidation. But what he actually captured was something more profound. He captured humanity in crisis. He captured people in their most vulnerable moment. He captured a truth that still speaks to people today. The photograph has been exhibited several times. Each time it is displayed, visitors are drawn to it. They stand in front of it for long periods. They study the faces. They feel the unease. Many visitors report feeling chilled. Many report feeling sad. Many report feeling angry. The photograph provokes strong reactions. It forces people to confront an uncomfortable truth. It forces people to acknowledge that injustice existed. It forces people to see the human cost of greed and violence. Sarah believes this photograph should be widely shared. She believes people need to see it. She believes people need to know this story. Because this story is not unique. This story happened in many places. This story happened to many families. The photograph from the lake is just one documented case, but it represents countless others that were never photographed. It represents countless families who disappeared without a trace. It represents a dark reality of frontier justice and unchecked power. What other historical photographs have stories that chill you? What other images from the past contain hidden truths? What other moments were accidentally preserved? The archive is full of such images. The archive is full of glass plates and old film. Each one is a window into the past. Each one contains stories. Some of those stories are simple, some are complex, some are happy, some are tragic, but all of them are worth investigating. All of them are worth understanding. History is not just what is written in books. History is also what is captured in photographs. History is also what is preserved in the faces of people long gone. Andrea and Mila and Leah and Sarah continue their work. They continue to search for more information. They continue to piece together the story. They continue to honor the memory of the family by the lake. They continue to make sure that Beckham and Sarah and their children are not forgotten. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to this story. Thank you for witnessing the family by the lake. Their photograph will remain in the archive. Their story will continue to be told. Their gaze will continue to chill those who see it. Subscribe for more historical mysteries. Subscribe for more forgotten stories. Subscribe for more moments frozen in time. The past is full of secrets. The past is full of truths waiting to be discovered. And sometimes all it takes is one photograph. Sometimes all it takes is one moment captured. Sometimes all it takes is looking closely at the faces in an old image and asking the question that unlocks everything. What were they looking at? What were they seeing? What was happening just outside the frame? The answers to those questions can change everything. The answers to those questions can bring the past back to life.